Honestly, if you Google meibomian gland dysfunction, the results can be pretty depressing. Everywhere you look, you see words like chronic, can be cured, and stuff like that. And if you're already struggling, reading those things can make you feel even worse. I know it. But one thing I've learned over the last 2.5 years is that whenever I read something scary, I try to understand why people are saying it, not just accept it at face value. Because MGD is actually a pretty broad term, it's not one single problem. Different things can cause it, and different things can be happening inside the glands. So when people say MGD is chronic, I think it's important to ask chronic because of what? For example, sometimes there is something in the body that keeps causing the oil to become thick. If the trigger is still there and you can't find it or can't fix it, then sure, the condition may keep coming back. In this situation, calling it chronic makes sense. But that's not the same thing as saying it's impossible to improve. And then there are people whose trigger was temporary, or people who actually managed to remove the factor that caused the problem in the first place. And in those cases, a lot depends on what condition the glands are already in. I've seen people whose symptoms started very early, when the oil was only slightly thicker than normal. And sometimes those people improve with consistent warm compresses, better blinking habits, or relatively simple treatments. If the trigger is gone and the glands are functioning normally again, there may be no reason for the problem to keep coming back. But then there are cases like mine. In my case, I believe I removed the main factor that was contributing to the problem. But by the time I started treatment, the glands were already so blocked that during my first expression, almost nothing came out. The oil was incredibly thick, and that's where things become much more complicated. Because clearing severely blocked glands is not a quick process. It's slow, it's frustrating, it's definitely not linear, and it requires a ridiculous amount of patience. The way I see it, we are trying to remove something that built up over years, but at the same time, the glands keep producing new oil every day. So while you are slowly clearing what's already there, new oil is constantly joining the system. And then, of course, we spend hours sleeping every night. No blinking, no natural release of oil. Everything just kind of sits there. So when people ask why recovery can take so long, that's part of the answer. And honestly, I wish it worked like squeezing toothpaste out of a tube. You squeeze it once, it's empty, problem solved. But unfortunately, meibomian glands are a lot less cooperative than toothpaste. So when I hear MGD is chronic, I don't automatically think that's it, nothing can be done. I think the real question is, why is it chronic in this particular case? But the answer can be very different from one person to another.